Hello. Today I'm going to tie for you a pattern that I saw on the internet that they called a yellow Sally wet, but I plan to use it when the sulphurs are hatching here in Pennsylvania, possibly below a dry fly or above a nymph. I'm going to do this one on a size 14 Daiichi bronze nymph hook, and I'm going to use one strand of this yellow floss as the body. Going to have some fibers from this pheasant tail across the back, held in place with a soft wire, red copper rib. I'm going to put a thorax of Peacock Herl, and I'm going to use this Grizzly saddle hackle. I know that's not typical for wet flies, but we'll talk more about that. And hold it all together with size 70 tan thread. So I've got my hook in the vise. I'll start it back a little bit to remind me not to rush the head. And I want to stop just in front of the point, and since I'm going to have a wire rib, this is a good time to wrap it in. So I cut a piece off that spool that I showed you. It's a little easier to manage, especially if I use the rotary feature of the vise. And I'll start it and work my way back to the end of the shank right above the bend. Put that in the materials clip and come back forward. So body's level, I'm going to try and do a couple of passes extra up front, get a little bit of a taper going here. So here we have about 6 strands of that pheasant tail fiber. And we'll pull that and the wire back and make sure that I work my way all the way back to where I stopped with the wire. And come back forward and trim off the tips. So here's that yellow floss. So, and you'll see throughout this process, and I apologize, but um, I've nicked my tying thread at one point, and this floss has a couple of stray fibers in it, and they stick out here and there, but the end result's okay. And I think most of that came from I've been working on my electric dryer. Appliances today are kind of junk. Don't tell anyone I said that, but um, we've had little issues with things that used to last 10 years and now they last about a year. This one's about a year old and it's already sensors are going bad, and I could say user error, but I do a lot of the laundry myself here, so I don't want to blame me. All right, so here we are. We've got that piece of floss, and we're just going to do a nice smooth, um, do I call it an underbody or body of this fly? And here things kind of get away, and I've got an extra strand. Oops, bumped the camera. But we'll wrap forward, and essentially I'll just kind of trim out any of those wild fibers. I'm sure we'll see them when it's in high def. It was pretty hard to see while I was tying. And snip off the extra floss. I was holding it in a pair of hackle pliers, so if it's in pretty decent shape, I can go ahead and use it to make another fly. I was watching some fly tying videos lately, and I don't know if it applies to floss as well, but when you have a stray hair like that, I think Cheech from Fly Fish Food calls those haters. So I snipped out all my haters. And there I realized I hadn't pulled that pheasant tail forward, and I want to wrap it down. So a couple over top. I like to go around the shank of the hook when I'm trying to get a tight wrap or to do a half hitch or something. I think that holds better. And now I'm ready for the rotary feature, and grab the copper wire and put our rib in place. So it goes underneath first, and as I go over the top, I don't pull tight until it's like laid over the top, over the pheasant tail. Then I give it a little tug and let it bite down into that. And this does a couple things. Those little fibers pop up and it creates the illusion of like segments in the body. And I did a couple of these. I had an extra rib, a wrap or two of the ribbing, and um, I don't know. This is a flashy fly, and I'm not sure I wanted it to be so flashy. So you might want to adjust the color of things. I thought this fly might look good with a brown or maybe a black wire. Or it wouldn't have to be wire. You could rib it with some tying thread. So that's tied down and in place, and I have a piece of just one strand of that peacock, and I've trimmed off the tip and the curly end. Kind of marked where the middle was just for my own reference when I went to tie it in. And I zoomed out a little bit here because I want to try and show you what I'm doing, but I could have zoomed out a little further. It's hard to get the tight shots, the camera's in close. You zoom all the way out and it's still kind of too close, but I think you'll get the idea. So I'm going to wrap that around. And I do a full turn around that, and then here I'm kind of debating how do I hand that across and not hit the camera to kind of wrap all that together, but kind of did it. And then since my fingers are rough, I did the half hitch with the tool. And we'll put that in the hook and give it a spin. And we'll wrap in that peacock herl as a little thorax. Kind of keeps those fibers spread out. That was really only about 2.5 turns. But if it were some kind of emerging fly, it would have a dark wing case possibly, and maybe some legs up in there that would be darker and would be a little bigger. So, and then it is peacock herl, so that stuff is magic on most of the fly patterns you use it in. So here's our Grizzly saddle hackle. Now, again, this isn't something that most wet flies. I think you're looking for a hen hackle or something speckled and trying to find a small enough one or whatever. But in this case, I just want to create the illusion of legs, maybe some folded up wings that didn't quite pop out yet or something. So just a wrap or two of this stuff, I think will get the job done. And I don't know. I have enough of wet flies that are made a little differently. So here we are again. We got about 2.5 turns. Get everything out of the way and trap it down with a wrap or two of thread. One across, one in front. Let's see if I can make a little more room here and get in there with the scissors and trim out all the excess. I know it's been a little time longer in between flies or videos that I put out, but I don't have a fly shop. Some of those guys in a fly shop, they've been tying perdigons and they'll change colors and make a new one and sell a new material, and um, that's not me. I'm just trying to fill my box with things that I think I'll have fun and that will uh, that I can have fun with and catch some fish. So I use the tool, the half hitch tool, and that kind of pushes the fibers back if anything's coming forward. Pin things in place, and now sneak in here and get a whip finish, build up a little head. And this is the tan thread, but I always like when there's a little bit of a hot spot as a head. And I could have colored up a little bit of the thread before I did the whip finish, but I think it's just as effective to come in here. And in this case, I'm going to use a little orange. And that's essentially it. Going to add some head cement, and like I said, I'm going to fish this, I don't know, up in the upper part of the water column, possibly behind a dry fly, and let it get wet and sink into the film. Or if I tie it to a nymph, that may work out just as well. And we'll zoom in and take one last look. It's got a dark dorsal dorsal section. It looks like a bug, and it might catch some fish. I hope this helps you out. If you want to learn more about me, look me up on Amazon. Until next time, be safe.